Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and welcome back to most of the team. Hello, Chris Paul. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing okay. Doing okay. Happy weekend. Good weekend for you.
I guess because I don't remember anything from it.
That's a sign
I
of a
guess it was
good
good.
weekend. That is a sign of a good weekend. And welcome back to Coy Malone, social justice contributor. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How's everybody doing? Are y'all staying cool? I heard it was really hot in Texas today. Heard it was
Uh,
very hot in Texas.
every day. Uh, no, no, really. For the last week and a half, 2 weeks almost, we've been over the 100 mark. It is 101 as we speak on this evening. And so, and it's I mean, it's summer in Texas. It started a little bit earlier than normal, but, and it's spreading across the country, something that we will talk about in the midst of this cast here, talking
But
about
don't
the
don't
weather.
you guys lose power when it gets hot?
We have, and or cold. If
Oh,
it's too cold or too hot, we do have power outages. I had one last week. I want to say it was last Tuesday morning at about 7, and we were out till about 7 a.m. till about 9 or 10. But it was cool enough in my house from the night before that it wasn't, without the air conditioner, without the fans and stuff. I was able to go back to sleep and not have any issues with it. But yeah, it's an ongoing thing, and there are power outages, and people are dying. That's the serious tip about it. There's a horrible story, and it's been even mentioned on the floor of the United States Congress. A United States postman uh, died as a result of
Oh
making his
goodness.
deliveries in the heat, and his wife says that the post office is not doing all that they can do to ensure that postal workers get in and out, or out in the weather and then back in again, in without being affected the way this man was. And Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett has been on the floor of the United States Congress, saying that she is going to promote a investigation into this and what is being done, because it's not, the weather is not only here in Texas. The heat is obviously moving throughout the country, and so we've got to do better about the people who are, whether they are delivering our mail, delivering
right.
packages, whatever, cutting the grass, doing construction work. That's really bad when you have the asphalt and the heat from coming off of the asphalt and affecting the construction workers. So please, please, please be careful and be mindful. And let's start sharing some, bottles of water with people when we see them out on the road. If we have fresh bottles of water to give them, to keep their bodies and the rest of them hydrated.
Is it Texas or Florida that just voted to not give water breaks to some people? Well, I think it
I
might be Texas.
I believe that, yeah,
Yeah,
not
it was
happy about that. Yeah.
outdoor workers. They voted that you don't have to give them water breaks.
Yeah, this is a part of a deal regarding, the treatment of workers, but that is the most ridiculous thing, among all the other ridiculous things that go on in the states, um, in the Republican-led states. Quite honestly, to allow something like that is the most ridiculous and inhumane things that you can ever possibly be a part of.
And
And you
also,
know
Um,
these
if you're I'm sorry, if you're watching and you have young athletes in your home, make sure that they protect themselves, because every year we hear about
yeah,
somebody's football summer training or track or whatever it is, where someone that actually drops dead from heat stroke.
they're pretty good about that now, Chris, about getting football practices in early in the day, like early morning football practices. I'm not sure about late afternoon, because right now we're looking at after 6 o'clock and it's still 101 degrees.
Right.
So, but they are good about that, and good about making sure that the kids stay hydrated on the track, on the field. Ward White and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. He doesn't know how they did it. Back in the day, the coaches would run them without drinking water because they didn't want to slow them down or whatever. But now that has, as you said, people have dropped dead on the field, and they are making every effort not to have that happen. But as far as workers are concerned, don't let them, tell you can't stop and take a bathroom break or a water break,
Right.
because your lives could depend on it. And
Right.
we've seen that it has. It is also Black Music Month. We're coming up on the end of that, and we'll talk about that more tomorrow, and as well as the end of Happy Pride Month. The last of the Pride parades took place over the weekend, and so we will continue to talk about that. Oh, maybe that's why he's late.
You picked a hell of a topic to make your entrance.
I heard it. I've been waiting, but I've been waiting.
Oh.
She put me.
They did you dirty, bro. They did you dirty, bro.
They set me up, bro.
No. Hello, Mr. Lowdown.
up,
How you
y'all?
doing? How
What's
you
going
doing?
on? How you doing? What's up, Coy?
Hey, how you doing, Huggy?
How you doing?
So
I'm doing great.
let me
That's good.
now move to the What You Need to Know newsletter, and Hug will get an update on your whereabouts as we talk about trending topics today.
Okay.
Let's move to the newsletter. This is our newsletter that we put out every Monday through Friday to super serve the African American community. Coy Malone is our social justice writer and contributor, and Coy this week is talking about a story that has made news around the country in the most ridiculous way. The police department of Villa Rica, Georgia, has apologized, Coy, for putting pictures of Black men on the targets that they use for target practice.
This is
Villa Rica sound like it rhymed with something. So
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Killer what?
So Coy.
Oh goodness, Huggy. This is no laughing matter, though.
I know,
The Villa Rica Police Department on June 17th, they shared a Facebook post showing their officers at target practice, except every single target had a picture of a Black man on them, like different Black men, but they were all Black men. And so they just got a lot of backlash on their comments. And since then, they have removed the pictures, but the post still remains. So on June 20th, they decided to post an apology statement on Facebook, basically saying that they're conscious of how their relationship with the community members has a direct impact on their effectiveness with the community that they serve, and that the targets were from a recent firearms class, and they depict realistic human images, and they were part of a package that included target images of people from various ethnic groups. So they respect the opinions of the citizens of Villa Rica, and they apologize for any offense that they caused. And then they went on to invite everybody to join them for a citizens firearm class so they can share the positive experience alongside them.
Bull.
Yeah, after the fact, they showed all the other posters they used of some white people. Those weren't the ones they were using when we saw them, but they had the posters of the white ones. So the white posters were all just held and detained and released, but the black one, the black one was actually killed, and the black one was a brother holding a gun. Right across the bottom, it said John Morant. His picture right there.
That's awful.
And what happened to just the outline form of someone?
And the outline form with different, point scales going throughout to the heart.
Right. What happened to those?
Now it's pictures. It's supposed to be realistic images.
I get that, but why did they have to? Did they say why they changed from?
This isn't the first time something like this happened. This happened before, over and over again. And
we covered a story.
Targets of Black men in training. What kind of precedence is that setting up when they get out in the field?
And what if we found proof that they're actually better marksmen when they use the Black person versus that plain outline? What if we find that actually tightens them up and makes them, it hit their target better?
It don't tighten them up.
Because they're motivated. I'm saying they're motivated. They're motivated to shoot a Black man because that scares them. They're not scared of just an outline of a regular target. But these white cops are genuinely afraid of Black people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and
this is part of the problem right now.
And
That's part of the problem.
That's right. That's
The
right.
It's a
whole
psychological
mess.
training.
Yeah,
They're training them.
the whole training.
And who's the brother that posed for the picture? Where's he at?
I'm not sure that it was opposing.
It was an actual photo, yeah. But I'm like, who is he?
Right, but if he has not been identified,
He's a cook at the Waffle House.
I'm not sure how they came.
Oh, well, then maybe they should have shot us.
Oh, no.
Wow. Let us not defame the Waffle House.
I know. I love the Waffle House.
I'm just saying all those cooks are dangerous.
and as I said, let us not defame the Waffle House.
We love it.
But I would hope they're using his picture with permission, though. I mean,
for sure. Yeah, not just from a gallery of photos, stock photos, if you will. We are hoping to speak to Attorney Gerald Griggs, president of the Georgia NAACP, to fill in some of the blanks there and maybe answer some of your questions that we have questions of this whole situation.
Georgia.
What's the next step regarding the NAACP's actions in the state of Georgia? So hopefully we'll catch up with him in a little bit. Among the other stories we're talking about also in Georgia, this is from a political angle. I did the story on, you remember the two women, the anti-diamond and silk women who were defamed by the Trump administration, actually the Trump campaign, and they were accused of mishandling the mail-in ballots. Yes, they were a mother and daughter team, Mrs. Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Moss. They have been, the charges against them have been dismissed by the Georgia State Election Board. A years-long investigation into the Fulton County election workers, as I mentioned, Mrs. Freeman and Ms. Moss, during the state's 2020 presidential election. And more than 2 years after then President Donald Trump and his ally, Rudy Giuliani, repeatedly claimed the African-American women were counting fake ballots, fake mail-in ballots at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta. They found that the claims that had been lobbied against the women were false and unsubstantiated. And they sent around a heavily edited clip of security footage that was circulated online by other Trump allies and their supporters and their supposed truth. They testified, you may remember their testimony before the January 6th House Special Committee regarding the abuse and mental anguish they suffered due to Donald Trump's lies. They said that Rudy Giuliani seized on a heavily edited clip that he said showed the women using and passing USB drives like vials of heroin or cocaine, which is offensive enough when you're talking about two Black women and using
like he was
drugs.
Talking about Junior.
Right.
Oh, gosh.
He had alleged this during their vote counting operations. And when they were asked before the House committee, Ms. Moss was asked about this and what her mother passed to her. She said, it was a ginger mint. It was a mint.
Oh my gosh.
And so not only if these women had to live just lives of seclusion, scared to leave their homes because they're afraid their names would be mentioned out in the public. They've had people surrounding their homes, trying to get into their homes to take them out, and all kinds of madness that they have had to withstand. They have been saluted. They've been honored by the Biden White House, but this isn't enough. I believe that they are going to file charges and in their continued fight against this, and they have filed defamation lawsuits against the far-right figures and the media entities, because there are far-right media companies that help spread this nonsense. And so they're going to pursue charges. But what this also does is put a cooling or a cold point on getting people to work for the elections, to be elections workers, because who wants this hassle in the possibility that Donald Trump runs again, and loses again? What's the possibility, of coming back and having them allege these accusations again?
They're gonna say it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's not at the expense of your life. when you don't know how crazy these people are, what they will do.
That
We saw what they did in
uprooted their
January.
lives.
Yeah. We saw what they did on January 6th. And they did it to policemen. Just imagine what they would do to two women who were election workers.
But who will take those jobs now are people who will do anything that Donald Trump want them to do.
Right.
Which means actual rigging of the vote. And
Right.
for these two poor women, this is never going away because the way that MAGA has twisted people's minds, they'll say it was just Biden's Justice Department that got the vote, just like they did Hunter Biden.
They'll go viral with the
real
lies.
selective. They're real selective.
Right.
Yeah, selective memory is, but also selective attacks and using in their words, as you say, the Biden Department of Justice to save his son, but to take out their attacks on poor people who are just trying to do their good citizen duty.
But absolutely, they have to sue Fox News, and you hit Fox News in the pocket. Yeah, they straighten up real quick.
Yeah, we saw how that happened before.
They might as well add another one on.
Right?
Yeah,
we can't undumb these dummies, man.
We can unfund them.
That's right. You gotta hit them in the pocket.
Well, we can unfund them by not supporting their advertisers.
Right.
That's
and that takes a big chunk out of their wallets too. Also talked this week about the attack or the supposed attack that did not really happen, an attempt at an insurrection by the mercenaries.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sybil. Go ahead.
This was the mercenaries in Russia under the guise of a man who worked his way up through the Putin administration, known originally as a caterer of Vladimir Putin's, and so he let them know that he was not happy with the way that his mercenaries were treated in the war against Ukraine. And so he was going, Prigozhin is his name, Yevgeny Prigozhin, and he was going to lead an attack against and have all of his people drive and ride their military vehicles into Moscow. And Vladimir Putin got word of this, and there was a great deal of consternation because they didn't know what this meant. But what it shows is that there is a crack in the Putin Foundation, and they managed to ward them off. They got them to stop and to take refuge in Belarus. But this, I don't think this is
a public crack, Sybil.
And a very public, very
we
public.
Know about. There's probably been some, but
that's what I was going to say. This is the first
crack.
that we know about,
right?
But no doubt that there have been others in the past,
right.
And I don't think this will be the last either. But what it does give is a look into how fragile the Putin regime is and is regarded at this point, and especially by their enemies, and look at what Ukraine is asking for in terms of more money and more military weapons, and hoping to push back against the Russians during this time of weakness. And the other thing that I wanted people to take a look at is
nothing like a scorned mercenary. So.
is they're not just doing this in Russia or Russia annexed countries. This group called the Wagner Group, you may have heard of them, and how they have taken over with the willingness of leaders of African nations. Mm. And so about 1,000 Wagner troops entered the Central African Republic, Libya, Mali, and Sudan, all of them having a tenuous relationship with the West due to colonial legacies. And so the colonialism is not dead, because this is what the Wagner Group is doing. And they entered the Central African Republic in 2018 to defend the government of the president against rebel attacks. And in response, and how they got paid was through the gold mines that they have in this country. They're mercenaries. They're not doing this out of the goodness of their hearts.
For money, right? They're hired
hitmen, right? And so so keep an eye not only on what's going on in Russia. Obviously, that's important, and especially in the grand scheme of things, because Russia is a nuclear superpower. But also look at this Wagner group and where they're going and how they are taking over under the guise of helping Black presidents of African nations, and what this will look like in the end.
We already know what that's going to look like.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
To rise up against Putin shows you how bad this dude must be. Because Putin, we know how Putin handles things. He takes people to the 22nd floor and
never seen again,
and see if they can fly.
Right.
And this guy knows that, and he still said, "I don't care."
I seen him. I heard a story about him pushing somebody out the first floor, bro.
Just as a warning.
Yeah, just a broken leg or an ankle, and that'll show you and get you to shut up a little bit.
Died still, so he still dies.
We are still waiting to hear from our guest, Attorney Griggs. But so let's move to what's really going on in the question of the day. This week's Yogi's Jewel is doing the right thing. Who do you know, and especially when no one else is looking, who do you know who needs to redeem themselves and do the right thing? And one example that's been given is the situation with Anita Baker and Babyface. Who needs to do the right thing? Do you think whose side are you on? And do you think that Anita Baker was wrong in her kicking Babyface off of her tour? Or do you think it was the Babyface fans who were angry because they didn't get to see their boy and Anita going too long?
Old people on social media, Sybil.
But they were angry. Did you see how? I mean, they were threatening Anita.
Yeah, they was
right.
They were real angry. It was angry at Anita. Then they were Patti LaBelle last night. So.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's another thing we'll talk about. But here's the thing. How capable are you, or are you of doing the right thing when you're thinking nobody's looking? They won't mind if I just pick this up and throw it in my bag when I go through the self checkout at Walmart or something like that. Who needs to do the right thing? And that could be you, that could be someone or it could be on a more national level with Anita Baker and Babyface, or as Huggy says, whoever was running the machine last night for Patti LaBelle to get the words to the song that she was singing in tribute. What do you all think?
She tried to hang in there, Sybil. I thought she was going to stop singing Tina's song and say, "On my own." This wasn't how it was supposed to be.
And pull out a piece of paper and put her glasses on and say, "Now here we go. Here we go." So let's talk about doing the right thing. Certainly we all have opportunities in our own personal lives. We have examples of people who spend money and in much to the dismay of their partners,
like not digging in your nose when the elevator door closed,
or even when you're in the car and somebody pulls up right next to you. Right. Those are people who need to be more mindful of doing the right thing. Nobody wants to see you doing, the dual tunnel run up your nose, and as an adult, nobody wants to see that.
I know that a lot of people need to find redemption in relationships and with their friends or their employers or whatever. But I believe that most acts of redemption are like, you need to redeem yourself to yourself. The most the ways we fail most times in our lives are with ourselves, and by doing things that are harmful to us. Actually, when you disappoint and let down a friend, you're actually hurting yourself more than the friend, because now you don't have a friend like you used to.
Right.
So I think we need to find redemption most time when we look in the mirror.
Come on, Preacher Paul, tell us.
It tarnishes the friendship.
Right?
Yeah. It really does.
And the respect within yourself.
Right.
Stuff like that. I'm not even going to drink tonight, Chris.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If I didn't drink last night, I wouldn't have come up with that. So it all works,
what about you
together.
guys? You guys live in major metropolitans or near there. What about government employees who should be going to work from 9 to 5, and they may slide out a little early and ask somebody, check out for me,
extended lunch and
exactly.
Stuff like that.
Actually, the most egregious thing government workers do is when it's time for their kids back to school shopping. They get all their supplies,
all their school supplies. Huh?
Right. My mother worked for the federal government her whole career, and every fall, me and my brothers are going to school with pencils that say FDIC.
FDIC on it. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Coy, you're sitting there like pious
Backpacks
Paula.
and everything.
Do you have any?
Oh man, that's a
you'd
list.
like to confess? You like anything you like to confess to the church?
I don't have anything to confess. I do
don't.
the right thing. Like, no, I don't have time for that. For me, I feel like when you don't do the right thing, that just racks up a lot of karma in the background that's gonna come back and hit you somewhere down the line. Yeah. I don't play around like that. I don't play around with people. I don't try to go out and do the wrong thing and stuff like that. And if I am in a moment where I can be corrected, I will stand corrected and fix it in that moment. Like I don't
self-checking.
Yeah, like I don't, even if somebody else checks me, okay. And even if I know that person is wrong, all right, whatever you're thinking is still valid, and let me hear what you're saying and possibly take some of that and see how it applies to me, even though I know it's not right. But hey, this is your viewpoint of what's going on. Let me reevaluate and correct myself from here. You never really know where you're going to learn your lesson from. And, sometimes you can think that you're doing right and you're actually not. I don't know. But
where did you learn this?
I learned this because.
Not because, where?
At the
on my own.
So you did so your parents, this wasn't something you got from your parents?
Somewhat, yeah, a little bit from my parents, just with understanding how to be corrected and how to take constructive feedback and criticism and things like that, but also observing other situations and wishing I had someone like myself in those situations. So just being the person that I wanted in my life.
So, but there was no role model for you to get this from. This just sprang into you.
Yeah,
this is just who you came out as.
A lot of this came from my dad, I would say.
Maybe she took a page from each, her parents, her father.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm trying to get to, Huggy. I'm just trying to, because I don't know that without some sense of example that all of us are, just come equipped to do. I mean, unless you're Jesus Christ, come equipped to do the right thing always.
Yeah, I would say a lot of it came from my dad.
For all your viewers and all your listeners, just so we're all clear, if you feel like Coy Malone that you don't need redemption of any kind, then you are a psychopath.
It's not that I don't feel like I don't need redemption.
No. You've already put it out here, and you've raised yourself up several lengths and heights.
So if you're watching tonight, when your spouse gets home or you get around your friends or someone you love, ask them the question Sybil just asked here, and by their reaction, you will know they're insane, and your life's in danger.
Danger. What about you guys? Did you have examples like that? I mean, other than your mom bringing school supplies home for you, Chris, did you have examples amongst your parents or your grandparents or other relatives, maybe your Boy Scout leader or something, who taught you how to do the right thing even when no one is looking?
That sounds so sketchy these days. Your Boy Scout instructor.
Well, okay.
Not to trash the organization, but
no. But I understand. But what organization do we use these days? Who is not? I mean, you can't say your neighborhood
back in the
priest.
Day, you probably had Boys and Girls Clubs.
Yeah.
You probably had somebody at Boys and Girls Club, or a teacher that poured into you, or somebody in the neighborhood. You know.
And let's be honest. I mean, because of the country we live in, and the way they have always treated Black people, it's kind of a part of Black culture to get over certain
get over
time.
on-
Right. Like that's why I still to this day don't think that my mother taking all those supplies from FDIC is wrong.
Right.
You know, it's like she probably wasn't getting paid her worth. And why should she pay for them when they got all these pencils and notebooks laying around here?
And
guys already
nobody's
I'm
using them.
I'm saying so. Just like I mean, before the black people are the ones who invented going in a convenience store like 7-Eleven, filling up their big gulp cup, drinking it down, and filling it up
And
again.
then going again. Yeah.
Right, but I'm like, is that?
And what about the chili and cheese pump, bro? I used to see
Right.
in the Dorito bags, bro.
Right. I'm like, are we wrong? Is that going to keep us out?
You
of the
remember
game?
Roy Rogers?
or
Remember the
in-
Fixins bar, bro?
Yeah, bro.
You know who got rid of the Fixins bar? Roy
Roy
Rogers.
Rogers.
Yeah,
Who?
Roy
black people.
Rogers.
Yeah,
But
he
I saw a video of a brother who was it The Rock? Was it The Rock who said he came in here and stole every day?
No, that was at a store. He said Snickers.
He steal a Snickers every single day, and then he just showed. I mean, when you're that rich, it's time to redeem yourself. But until you get there, you're gonna have to just go by. You know what? I was hungry.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I stole
and
those
I didn't
Snickers.
have the money.
The
I mean,
Snickers.
this
Well, I'm
Snicker.
like, so yeah, it's a fine line. Yeah, you're wrong. And being adults now, we know the things we did that were wrong. Like Huggy said, going to the Roy Rogers Fixins bar and making a full-blown salad.
Or you're supposed to be putting lettuce or tomatoes on your
on your burger.
Right. So
Yeah.
I mean, but it's I don't know. It's a part of black culture. Just because we never feel like we're getting a fair shake in this country.
Because people been getting over on us so long, we feel like, hey, I'm gonna get mine in where I can. And that's the culture of some people.
Who do you think was first? Who do you think was first to sneak food into a movie theater? Black people or white people?
My mom in there.
Right. we're not paying no damn $10 for popcorn.
You hiding in the back of the station wagon.
Right. Put a station wagon under
the
blankets, and you
Right.
had two people,
I'm like,
coming into the drive-in.
And
movie.
the worst part when you get up and you right by the entrance, like, get back there, boy.
To be fair, I did see a white couple sneak a bunch of food in a baby carrier.
That ain't no race. I mean,
And I think the reason why they could do that because they were white and they're not gonna like look and see what baby you got in there because they're gonna question us.
All right.
Well, I did have white friends who used to sneak beer into the movie theater.
So you got to have.
They pioneered that.
They did start that. Right. Yeah. And now we have to go and buy it at the expensive bar.
Yeah. Black people messed it up when you start trying to
bring hot sauce.
Trying to bring malt liquor in there. That malt liquor smell.
Lincel on YouTube says, yes, you're wrong. That's like pushing your grocery cart slowly to eat 80% of the grapes.
Ooh, she is nice with it.
But grapes, that's a part of you need the grapes in order to not buy every unnecessary thing.
But why are you eating them without washing them?
Really? That's the biggest issue.
That's not
eating the grapes, but not washing them.
It was different kind of grapes back then. They put too much stuff on the grapes now.
Yeah, that's true.
and now you just go buy the bottled water and just kind of wash it off.
Walk around like, hey, I'm good. I'm good.
Right. And then say this 6-pack of water was not complete. So everybody's got something.
But again, the grapes, sneaking food into movies, the breakfast. I mean, the Fixins bar. Is there any adult, I wonder, watching right now that feels guilty about that today? Like,
so that's a good question, Chris.
I don't.
And I don't know
what
that.
What about going to a fast food restaurant and they give you something that wasn't yours? Like an extra burger, you look in, it's like.
And do you go back around?
Do you go back around?
No. It just means they were psychic.
That you needed an extra Big Mac.
They knew that I really wanted. They knew I wanted two.
They know you didn't order no Big Mac with your Happy Meal, bro.
But I mean, maybe it's just me being because I'm kind of a butthole. Maybe there are grown black people today who look back at all those things that we're talking about and they feel like they need redemption.
And so what do you do? How do you redeem yourself? What do you go and put yourself, take a knee on the the sacrosanct sanctuary and say, I'm wrong.
People,
McDonald's, here's the money for the French fries you gave me.
People still go to a dollar store or Five and Below or whatever and get their snacks before they go to the movies.
I never buy. And am I the only one that never buys food from Dollar Tree or Five Below?
Well, excuse me.
Excuse me.
They tell you.
Got that. It's Sybil money.
I wish. Which is goose egg.
Back up the truck. Back up the truck. And take all the bags out.
And it's all popcorn.
Sybil's personal vehicle is an armored car. Bruh.
Yolanda, do we have any other responses? Please.
Oh my goodness.
I think we're out of time. Oh, look, we're out of time. Okay. Let us.
But let me say that I think it's possible that Black folks like our age, the way they got redemption was by raising their children to not be about that. Mm-hmm. Just because we're talking about all the stuff we used to do. If I was with one of my sons in a 7-Eleven, I wouldn't let them keep refilling their cup. Like
you would be,
because that's stealing,
right?
So
but as a 9, 11, 15-year-old kid with your boys, that's okay.
Right. But I'm saying I don't know what they did once they got to the point of not hanging out with their dad and they go anywhere they want to go. I don't know what they do. But as a parent, I would have considered all the things we're talking about stealing.
Right. If you hear stories your kids tell you now, you will be appalled.
He is appalled. It's time for us to move to our guest. Attorney Griggs is here. Gerald Griggs is here. And we might have to ask him for some legal advice as well as
his brother.
to talk about
brother's ladies. He got to redeem himself now.
Sorry about the delay, y'all.
Thank you for joining us. Coy, why don't you recap and talk about the story and then we'll bring Attorney Gerald Griggs into it.
Okay, so we're talking about the story of the Villa Rica Police Department, who on June 17th shared images of them at target practice, and all the targets had pictures of Black men, every single one of them. They received a lot of backlash in the comment section, basically accusing them of pretty much being racist, which to me, that's what it looks like, and saying that the images were offensive. Why didn't they use other targets? So in response, the police department issued an apology on June 20th, saying that they are very conscious of how their relationship is impactful with the members of the community and how that can in turn impact how they serve the community. They didn't mean to offend anyone, and that basically they apologized for any offense that may have occurred, as well as invited the citizens to join them with in a citizens firearm training class so they can see how positive the experience is.
So this obviously is not new around the country. There have been other police departments that have been accused of doing the same thing. Attorney Griggs, what has the NAACP said? Where do you all stand on this?
So we were appalled at the use of African-American male imagery as target practice. And so President Dominic Conte of the Carroll County NAACP issued a statement and demanded a meeting with the mayor, with the police chief, and with the city council. That meeting will occur on Thursday, and we don't accept the apology. It wasn't until the people posted their displeasure in the comments that the police department decided that it was improper to do this. And again, the apology only came after they were called out for this. And so at the NAACP, of course, at the Carroll County and the Georgia State Conference, we don't think that it's appropriate for images of African Americans be used as target practice. We are not targets. And the police should do a better job of engaging the community. We're not asking to come to police gun safety training or police ride-alongs. We're just asking you to view Black people as more than just targets. And so we will be meeting with them on Thursday, and hopefully we will be able to report that they are going to process this a lot differently and to act appropriately with a large a majority of their community, because again, Carroll County is only one county over. It's a metro county. And so for them to do this inside of metro Atlanta, that shows how systemic the problem is and how we have to address this.
We know what senior leadership has said about this, but have you heard of any of the actual police officers expressing that they were uncomfortable at all with this?
No, we haven't heard from the police officers. And what's interesting about this whole incident is it was a citizens gun safety course. It wasn't the actual police. So they had citizens firing at African Americans. And so, you know, in this particular climate with what's happening with racial unrest and you know, social justice, to think it's appropriate to post pictures of citizens firing at African Americans was wholly insensitive and inappropriate.
Wow.
So this is where we are. This is where we are with these pictures. They say, okay, we're going to remove them. How long do we know how long this has been going on? And what happened, as Chris and I were talking about, what happened to just the outline form of persons being used for target practice?
And that's the question we want to ask the police chief. Usually you use silhouettes. There's no need to have a picture of anybody, let alone the African American. And we don't know how long. There was some comment that was accredited to the police chief saying that they received these targets from the Georgia Public Safety Standards Training Center. So if that's the case, we have an even bigger statewide issue that we have to address. But we will get all of those answers on Thursday. But again, it was definitely inappropriate and insensitive and should never have happened. And if they have been doing this for a substantial amount of time, we need to have a larger conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thursday, is this an open meeting or is this a private meeting between the members of the NAACP and these others in Villa Rica?
Well, it's a private meeting at 2:00, but there's a protest at 1:00. We're inviting the public to come out to voice their displeasure, because again, it was a groundswell of outrage at this particular incident, and so much so that the mayor issued a statement and told the police to take down the pictures but leave the comments up so that the people can make sure that they voice their opinion about this.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm assuming this is at the police department. The protest will be at 1:00 on Thursday?
Yes, it'll be right across the street from the police department.
Okay. All right. So people in the area will know where this is, the Villa Rica, right across from the police department in Villa Rica, Georgia. Thank you so much, Attorney Gracie. Wonderful for you to join us, and thanks for taking the time to join us again today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right. Everybody, thank you.
Thank you.
Let us move to other information, other things that are going on and trending. You guys, I know you got comedy jobs coming up.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys. Where are you guys going to be appearing this weekend?
Rita Moreno? Wasn't that Rita Moreno, like at the beginning of Electric Factory?
Electric Company.
Electric Company. That was the Rita Moreno.
Yeah.
This weekend, the 30th and July 1st, we will be at Magooby's Joke House
in Timonium, Maryland.
It's in the suburbs of Baltimore, one of our favorite comedy clubs. Beautiful, great food. You can get your tickets at magoobysjokehouse.com. And after that, Huggy and I are looking for new management because the gig we had for next weekend, our black manager had us performing on this submarine going to the Titanic. Although he said there's a good chance I wouldn't go because they were worried about space. But that was the gig we had.
Right.
Well, I wouldn't be mad at you for that, but we know that Pops is doing his job. Speaking of
comedy too, bro.
We've been talking about
who's going to be the first black promoter to put this submersible on a fly, Sybil. You know it's coming. You know they're disrespectful with it.
Very
comedy implosion.
Yeah.
I should mention, Huggy, when we started the show, it was 101 degrees. It's still 101 degrees in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. The temperatures are not only deadly in Texas, but it is spreading, and parts of the country are only going to get hotter. Parts of the Texas area have been roasting for more than 2 weeks and flirting with the state's record high temperatures. And now temperatures could get even hotter and expand to other areas across the South. More than 80 record high temperatures could be broken this week, from Texas to Missouri, down south to Florida. The majority of those occurring Wednesday through Friday. And a strong, severe storm threat continues in D.C. this evening.
I know, that's why I was doing like this, because it's coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
Ted Cruz is on the move, and Greg Abbott is riding around with an AC on his lap.
Multiple reports of 1 to 1.5 inch hail have been logged by the National Weather Service, and several instances of trees and wires down from the strong winds. And this is something else we were talking about, being mindful of the people that are working out in the extreme heat. A new schedule is in effect for Texas postal workers following an employee's death in Dallas. It is expected that his death, Eugene Gates was the postal carrier, that his death will be confirmed as heat related. It has not been confirmed, but now the branch president says that letter carriers will have a 7:30 a.m. start time effective today. And
the post office has no responsibility. Like, they can't be held accountable. They make a change like that after somebody dies,
and they can, right, and they can tell us how much
about that in advance. I'm saying.
So do they? Oh,
you would think in Texas they would,
right?
That it wouldn't take the death of a person, even though, as I mentioned, the hot days started earlier than normal. This gentleman was 66 years old. His name was Eugene Gates Jr., and he collapsed in an area while delivering mail door to door last week on Tuesday, June 20th. It's suspected that his death is heat related, but there's not been confirmed. They're waiting for the autopsy to be completed. The heat index was 113 degrees that afternoon at 3 o'clock when the incident happened. There's nothing that you should be outside for on a 113 degree day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's the height.
Some people got their mail in December.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's too hot.
Yeah. It's too.
That's way too hot.
It's too ridiculous.
And the trucks don't have AC; they just have a little fan. And we're starting to see like more and more videos. Especially last year, I started seeing a lot of TikTok videos, in particular, of delivery drivers saying how hot it is in their trucks. It's like a sweat box, like a hot box.
And they need to keep on doing it because it's a cry. I mean, you save lives that way.
Now, the National Association of Letter Carriers branch president said that the start times for the letter carriers were originally 7:30 at that particular post office that Mr. Gates worked out of, but recently changed to 8:30 due to a lack of clerk staffing. They didn't have enough people. The day after his death, they were told to agree to resume the 7:30 start time on Saturday, and multiple sources say that it was announced Thursday to the Lakewood letter carriers. And this back and forth, it was changed back to, it was 7:30, then it was back to 8:30, and it's back to 7:30. We don't have enough people, back to 8:30. That's you don't play those kind of back and forth games with people at the expense of their lives. And so there needs to be a hard, fast rule when it's too hot. When the letter carriers are faced with dangerous dogs, people are required to go get their mail at the post office, right? Mm-hmm. They don't have to deliver in the face of dangerous dogs. If the weather is such that it's dangerous and has a detrimental effect on your life, then some change has to be made. It doesn't make any sense.
Like now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And going back and forth, that's the most ridiculous thing. Speaking of ridiculous, this is horrific. And this is something I've seen looking out of a window and thinking the same thing, being on an airplane. A Texas airline worker was killed Friday night, was sucked into a Delta Airlines jet.
Oh man, no, yeah, that happens.
It has happened before. This worker died in I think it was San Antonio after being ingested into the Delta Airlines engine at the San Antonio airport. The worker was employed by a company called Unify Aviation, a company that Delta and other airlines contract to support ground handling operations. They're looking into it. Obviously, there's an investigation into this person's death. Now, Piedmont Airlines, an American Airlines subsidiary, was fined by OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, after another worker was killed. This happened New Year's Eve day. This person was sucked into the plane engine at Montgomery, Alabama airport. This was a young woman by the name of Courtney Edwards. She was a ground agent for Piedmont, and it concluded 34-year-old mother of 3 approached the American Airlines flight after it landed, at which point she was sucked into the plane's engine. Once is an accident, and that should not have happened. But now you have 2 within 6 months. That's ridiculous.
They're not training their workers. They're not.
It's a training thing, Sybil?
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah.
My dad used to work on airplanes, and he talked about this, about how people can get sucked into the engines, and you literally have almost like a split second to hit the button to stop it, to save somebody.
Yeah.
And he literally talked about this one guy that was walking too close, and they wear protective gear for their ears, they can't hear. And they have special flashlights that they're out there directing the planes and signaling each other. He said he literally threw the light at the man's feet, and it hit his feet, and he looked up and realized where he was and how close he was. So there's like a lot of training that goes into that, whether you're working on commercial planes or with military engines. You have to know like that circumference and certain just areas you just cannot walk by, period, because you'll get sucked right into it.
Hey, lucky you didn't steal your father's lunch out the refrigerator.
Yeah, that's the big issue. That's crazy. I've got some other great stories, but we don't have time to. And
What do you mean we don't have time, Sybil?
We took a conversation with Attorney Gerald Griggs.
Oh, okay. And I was late, so ain't that always the late? Hold on, we don't have time.
We don't have time to talk about how I almost got sucked on a Spirit Airlines flight.
Yeah.
And the engine wasn't even on, Sybil.
Okay, that's another time.
It spit him back out, Sybil.
Don't you hate that?
And then sent him a bill, Sybil.
And then sent him and added to the extra luggage file too. This is from the too soon file. The wreckage of the Titanic submersible tragedy hasn't even been settled yet, but some are jumping at the opportunity to get the old Titanic movies back into streaming platforms, including Netflix. They recently announced James Cameron's 3-hour epic is hitting their service starting July 1st. That's next weekend. Of course, it's not entirely clear if Titanic was already scheduled to be a part of their new offerings. But even if it was, wouldn't somebody have said, no, too soon, let's hold off on this? If you look online, a lot of people are showing that they have their opinions, and Netflix added this as a last-minute play to capitalize on all the interest, and there is a lot.
No matter how horrific an event is, there are people
that's
who
going to profit from it.
Their first thought is, how can we get money out of it?
How can we profit from it?
Right. Absolutely. It's sad and horrific.
Do the right thing.
Yeah, right. and even if people are looking, you should do something and own up to this and say, this was not a good time for this. And we're sorry. And we're going to lower your fares or your fees for paying for Netflix, by the way, as our
Please do.
Our little apology.
You know who does that a lot? T-shirt vendors. Well, I'm serious. Like T-shirt vendors, when tragic stuff happens.
All right.
Whether it's a black person getting killed by the police or whatever, they are quick on it, and they're out there selling shirts.
Bruh.
They are on it.
Machines in their houses.
They be on it before the crime happens, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
They be TMZ on it.
Yeah, TMZ.
As soon as they said that submarine was missing for one day, T-shirt vendors were in action.
Bruh,
and the conversation at the barbershops were off the chain, and so that's where they got a lot of their information.
Bro, they had the sparklers and the lights going up. Somebody had the words, "That submarine ain't coming back." Like, wow. And the people was just,
yeah.
the girls was just bring. Oh my God.
My goodness. Oh my. Well, and that's a conversation for us to have about this because we
I'll
have
send
not
to y'all.
talked
You
about
don't
it.
believe me? I'll send it to you.
No, please. And we'll talk about it next week when you guys come back. I appreciate you joining us. Always a reminder about the
I'll be
jewel.
back next Monday.
Thank you.
Don't
Huggy.
call me.
Can I text you?
You can text me.
Okay.
You don't have to call or text. I'll be there.
Okay.
But
All
you
right.
still can call it.
Okay.
Because I'll be there.
As always,
Hey, print up those "Where the hell is Huggy" t-shirts
let's
for
get
next week.
started on those.
For next week.
Merciful.
As we mentioned earlier in our Express Yourself question, remember the jewel is always do the right thing, especially when no one else is watching. Go out there and be good to each other. Thanks, you guys. We appreciate you. We'll see you again next week.
Do the right thing, bro.
My goobies.
My goobies joke house.